Hello and welcome back. Now in this video I'm going to talk about a security group. Yeah, and this is very useful. Okay, so let me start with the mind map. I will explain you how security group works in this video, and in next video we'll do it practically. Okay, so let's start with my mind map. Okay, so there are 4 points that you have to consider when we are talking about security group. Okay, the first is uh, security group are associated with EC2 instances and provide security at the protocol and port access level. Okay, now as you know, like whenever we are creating our EC2 instance, we have to create a security group. Yeah, and this is like must. You have to attach security group, okay, with your EC2 instance. And basically this security group is used to protect your EC2 instance. Okay, so how it will protect your EC2 instance? So the matter over here is security group can control inbound traffic and outbound traffic. Okay, so security group will only allow you the traffic that you needed. Okay, this is how it works. Now you may have questions like what is the primary system of the security group. Okay, now if you want to understand this, you must have basic knowledge of the networking. Okay, so now this is like just a single line that security group is used to provide a security at the protocol level, but I want to give you a proper explanation about this. Yeah, why? Because it is important. Security is always important when we are talking about cloud. Yeah, so here I'm going to explain you this particular line. Okay, now I'm going to start whiteboard session now. Okay, so let me explain you all this. Now I'm having this ready to use OSI layer model picture over here. Okay, and let me give you some brief explanation about this. Yeah, this is really useful to understand the security group, right? Now first of all, as you already having a detail that in the OSI we have 7 layer. Yeah, it is starting with the application layer to the physical layer. Okay, and this is a model which defines like how one computer sends data to other. Okay, now when we are talking about application layer, okay, we have different protocol. Like we have web server. So basically we are creating web server to transfer the HTTP traffic. Yeah, we have FTP server which is used to download the file, right? We have DNS which is used to resolve name to IP. We have SNMP which is used to uh, network management. Yeah, we have telnet which is used to terminal, like if you want to remotely manage anything. Like we have RDP. Yeah, so basically we have all this protocol which is working with the application layer. I can give you a short explanation about this. It's like these are the server. Yeah, for example, if you want to use HTTP, you have to install Windows Server 2016, 12 or anything. Either you can install Linux and then you are installing web service to them. Now when you install this service, it will be considered as a web server. Yeah, so basically when we're talking about application layer, these are the servers. Okay, now these servers or this protocols are basically totally depend on two other protocol. Yeah, and two other protocols are like a TCP and UDP. Okay, now HTTP, FTP, DNS, SNMP, telnet, whatever, like there are many protocols, the list is really long. These protocols are totally depend on the TCP and UDP. Yeah, without this they cannot work. It cannot work. Okay, so let me give you one simple example. Okay, so I can say suppose this is one computer. Okay, now this is computer A and this is computer B. Okay, now A and B actually connected to each other. Okay, so they are connected using any network media. They're connected through the internet or whatever. Yeah, they are connected with each other. Now when you connect them, you have to provide them TCP IP address. Yeah, so for example, I am saying that the IP address of this is 0.1, IP address of this particular B computer is 0.2. Okay, Now this A is a HTTP server, okay, and here I am saying that B is a client. It means here you have a browser like Chrome and you are opening website from A. Yeah, so A will be considered as a HTTP server, okay. B will be known as HTTP client or a browser in the internet, okay. And when you use this like HTTP colon slash slash 192.168.0.1, your request will be passed through this particular computer, and then it will provide you website and it will give you reply. Yeah, so this is how it works. Now this communication, okay, will be happen using TCP or UDP. Yeah, this communication will be done through the TCP or UDP. Now I can give you an example, like the easiest way I can say that, see, HTTP, FTP, DNS, SNMP. Yeah, I'm writing all these protocols that is like in list over here. Okay, SNMP, Telnet, okay, RDP. There are long list of protocol. Okay, these protocols are passengers. Yeah, these protocols are passengers. Okay, they can able to communicate only if they have some transportation system. Okay, now I can say that TCP and UDP, basically these two protocols are providing transportation facility to this application layer protocol. Okay, and I can simply say that like TCP is like a car. Okay, TCP is like a car. Okay, now whenever the FTP needs to transfer the data from A to B, the FTP will be like passenger. It will sit over the car, yeah, sit inside the car, and then this car will travel through the A to B. Yeah, and what will be the direction of the car? This will be the IP address. Yeah, so TCP and UDP is like a communication media. It is like a car. Okay, it is like a bus. This passenger protocol, yeah, are depend on the TCP or UDP. Okay, they have to sit on the either any car like a TCP or UDP, and then TCP and UDP will provide them end-to-end transportation service. Okay, now some protocol are based on the TCP and some protocol are based on the UDP. Okay, now there is no advantage or disadvantage. Basically, when we are learning in the school days, there our teacher is saying like TCP is a connection oriented, UDP is a connection less, and all this. Yeah, but the matter is these two protocols are there to as per our requirement. Yes, like TCP provide us reliable communication because whenever you will send the data, okay, it will give you the acknowledgement. UDP will not provide us this acknowledgement, but UDP is faster. Okay, so if you want a faster communication, you can use UDP. If you want reliable communication, you can use TCP. Yeah, now all this application layer protocol, okay, they have to use any one of the transport protocol because this transport protocol is actually providing communication channel between one computer to another. And there are only two protocols, one is TCP, one is UDP, and in other layer, like we have one another protocol we call ICMP. Yeah, I will explain you ICMP later, but we have like three options we are having. Yeah, TCP, UDP, and ICMP. Now whenever you find any application layer, okay, it will give you option like either you want to use TCP or UDP. Yeah, for example, SNMP, it is using UDP. Yeah, Telnet is using TCP, RDP is using TCP. Yeah, so FTP, it is using both. Yeah, so there are options like each and every application layer protocol is using either TCP or UDP as a transportation system. Okay, now FTP is nothing without this TCP or UDP because they have to sit in the car of the TCP and UDP, and then it can travel from one computer to another. Yeah, and that's why we are having this internet which is connected with the TCP IP all over the world. All the computers are connected through the TCP IP, so our media is ready, our transportation system is ready, and now we can able to travel. Like now this protocol like HTTP, FTP can able to travel using either TCP and UDP. Okay, so you can imagine like that. So if you capture any packet over the internet, yeah, just imagine like there is a networks of the internet and all the packets are traveling over there, and if you catch up any packet, yeah, this packet can be TCP, UDP, or ICMP. Yeah, because these three protocols are basically a communication system of the internet, right? Now sometime it has happened like, okay, so if someone is requesting me, like B is requesting to A, right? So whenever the A will get this TCP packet, A needs to identify that, yeah, we got this TCP. Like see, whenever someone is coming to our home, like we have guest, yeah, now guest is coming through the BMW, but BMW is not important, right? Transportation system is not important. The guest inside the BMW is important. So whenever after seeing BMW, we'll find it out that, okay, but who is the guest, right? Same way, if the computer is receiving the packet, TCP is not important, because yeah, every packet is are coming through the TCP and UDP. But the matter over here is like which type of the packet it is there inside the TCP, like to whom actually TCP is carrying, right? And to identify this, we have this port number. Yeah, we have port number. So basically, when you find out the TCP packet, you have image, like you have a curiosity, like, okay, TCP is okay, it is a transportation system, but which type of traffic actually TCP is carrying? Yeah. So in this case, you have to find out the port number. Okay. Now we have a total 65,535 port number. Yeah. Total port number, we have this 65,535 port number we are having. Okay. Out of this, 121023, yeah, it is known as well-known port number. Okay. And 1024 to 65,535, it is like open. Okay, there are many another option is there as well, but it is not required. Okay, now this 121023 port is well known. How I can say that? For example, if you are using HTTP, yeah, HTTP having port number 80. Now this is fixed. Okay, this is fixed. DNS is using port number 53. Yeah, Telnet is using port number 23. Yeah, SSH, yeah, it is using port number 22. So now these all protocols are fixed and their port number is also fixed. Yeah, so basically when you Google it, okay, and when you give this like well-known TCP port number, yeah, you will find it out the list. Okay, so you will have this list of the protocol. Yeah, like these are the protocols. See this, like some protocol are using TCP and UDP both. Yeah, DNS is using TCP and UDP both. Now this well-known port number, yeah, it is used to filter the traffic. Yeah, it is used to filter the traffic. So for example, let me give you an example is like I'm having two computer, like I'm having this server. Okay, now this is server which is connected with the internet. I can say this is EC2 instance as well, and this is web server. Okay, this is web server. Now if this is a web server, okay, it is like this server can also, like this server only welcome port number 80. Yeah, all the ports is like useless because this server is only providing HTTP service. Yeah, so basically the good idea for the security is you should only allow TCP port number 80 and you should block all the traffic. Yeah, if you can able to do this, your server will be very secure. Yeah, because what happened, like if this, like this is my computer, right, and now if I'm not protecting this using any security, what will happen, like there are many ports, like there are many service which is running inside my computer and I am not aware about it. Okay, and in this case hackers can able to misuse my computer. Okay, so best practice is like if this is a web server and this particular server is providing only HTTP service. Yeah, so in this case what you can do, you can use traffic filtering. Okay, and there will be the protection, and whenever someone will request HTTP service, you are going to allow them. If someone is requesting service other than the HTTP, you are going to reject this request. Okay, now how you can do this? We have the security group. Okay, so first of all, when someone will request to your EC2 instance, okay, the security group will be there. Now you can configure security group while you create EC2 instance, and you can create after, like you can also configure afterwards, right? So if someone is coming and it is saying that, okay, I want HTTP service, okay, your web server will say that, okay, you are allowed, okay. But if someone is coming with the like this request is coming for the DNS service, now this is not DNS, yeah, so it will not allow them. Like I'm not providing DNS service, and if you are requesting me, it is useless for me. I don't want to waste your time, my time. I want to be very secure, so I will not allow you the DNS. Okay. If someone allow like FTP, yeah, it will also deny. So if your web server is there, you just need to provide them only, like you just need to allow them HTTP service. Okay. Now how can you do this? So first of all, you have to configure security group. Okay. Now when you configure security group, it will ask you, yeah, it will ask you 3 main points, okay, like TCP, UDP, and ICMP. Okay, as I explained you, some protocols, some application layer protocol use TCP as a transport layer protocol, some application layers using UDP as a transport layer protocol, right? So suppose if I want to allow HTTP, you just need to write okay TCP, and you have to find out the TCP port number. Yeah, so basically you can find out this well-known port number, and you can say, okay, I want to allow TCP port number 80. Okay, and then you have to say, okay, what will be the source? We'll talk about the source, but the matter is it will only allow port number 80, and all other port will be closed from the security group level. Okay, now whenever like someone is requesting to the DNS, it will find out that, okay, this is TCP packet, good, but the matter is the port number is 53, so I'm not going to allow this. Yeah, this is like a FTP packet, okay, so it is like UDP packet, I'm not going to allow. I'm going to allow only one port and one TCP protocol. It is like you must be TCP port number 80, then I can only allow you. Yeah, so this is how the security group is used to protect your server. Okay, now let me explain you the another matter, that is like I explain you about TCP, UDP, and there is one another protocol, we call it ICMP. Okay, so as you know, like if you want to find out the connectivity between two computers, we are using ping. Yeah, like for example, if I want to find out that the internet is working on my computer or not, I can use ping 8.8.8.8. Now if I am getting reply, I can say that I am connected with the internet. Suppose if I am going to ping any random computer, yeah, I'm not getting reply, the meaning is like I'm not connected with this computer. So if you want to troubleshoot the connectivity, you can use ping command. Yeah, now ping is another one type of protocol, but the matter is it is not using TCP or it is not using UDP, it is using ICMP as a transport layer protocol. So I can say that ping, this is like a ping service having their own car. Yeah, it is using ICMP as a communication system, right? So basically in the transport layer we are having 3 options, either TCP, UDP, and ICMP. Okay, some of the protocol is using TCP as a transport layer protocol because for that particular application they require reliability. Some of the protocol are using UDP as a transport layer protocol because they require speed. They are considering speed instead of reliability. And we have this ping, which is using ICMP as a transport layer protocol. Okay, now whenever you want to use want to filter the traffic using security group, so you have to find any security, like you have to find out the TCP port number first or UDP port number. Okay, and then you can use this particular port number to allow that traffic, or we can say that it is used to deny the traffic. Yeah, this is how the security group works. Okay, now first of all, let me create this. Okay, so you can able to understand. Okay, so for example, I'm going to create one EC2 instance. Okay, so for example, I'm in EC2 management console. I'm going to create a EC2 instance. Okay, and click launch instance. Okay, and I'm going to create like any instance. So let me create a Windows Server 2016. We are not going to create it. I'm just going to explain you like from where you will get the security group option. Yeah, click select, click next, not going to touch anything, next, next, next. Now see over here. Okay, now you can able to understand it properly. Okay, first of all, when you create your EC2 instance, okay, Amazon will create a new security group automatically. Okay, now you can give name over here. Okay, SG. Okay, and I'm going to give like a name test SG. Okay, now when you create a security group, you can define two type of the matter over here. First is you can define inbound traffic. Yeah, so traffic which is coming to your EC2 instance, so it is like you are defining inbound traffic, and other is you can define outbound traffic. Okay, so which traffic can go or can leave your EC2 instance, right? Now when you create a security group, by default, okay, by default outbound traffic is all allowed. Okay, all allowed means I can say that all 65,535 ports are allowed. Any traffic is allowed. Okay, and when you create a new security group, inbound traffic, okay, it is depend on the instance OS. For example, if you are using Linux, okay, now you have to configure remote. Like you cannot, if you are not going to enable SSH, you cannot configure your instance, so it will allow you SSH. Now SSH is using port number 22. Okay, and it is allowed by default. Only SSH allowed by default. Okay, and if you are going to create Microsoft instance, okay, Microsoft is using RDP and it is using port number 3389. It is a TCP port and it is allowed by default. Okay, so for example, if I am over here, okay, and I am just creating Windows instance, so here I am getting RDP. Yeah, RDP is not using well-known port, it is using port number 3389. Yeah, now here we have good flexibility. Yeah, so whenever you are creating security group, they are giving us options like a port name, like a TCP port traffic type, or we can say that application layer protocol name. Okay, so the advantage is like we do not need to find it out. For example, if I'm going to use MySQL, okay, now if you don't have this list, you have to find out that, okay, let me go to Google, okay, and then you have to find out like MySQL port number. Okay, and then you will get this detail about like MySQL port number. Okay, and then you can allow them. So here you have this flexibility, like they are going to give this number to you. Yeah, for example, if I'm going to select NFS, it is like fixed that it is using port number TCP 4049. Yeah, if you are going to use Oracle, yeah, it will give you a detail like, okay, it is using port number 1521. So basically, if you have list, you do not need to find any port number. Yeah, for example, see, we have DNS which is using TCP and UDP both, so we are having a list like a DNS. It is like which port it is using, TCP port number 53, and it is using UDP port number 53 as well. Okay, so here we have this list. Okay, and like this is not the full list, we have total 121023 port number, okay, that you can use right now. If you don't have idea, you can go to the Google and then you have to allow application port, and you have to find it out like which port your application is using. Yeah, for example, if I am selecting SMB over here, I am getting 445. If I am going to go over here and I am finding that, okay, TCP port SMB, yeah, it is giving me like, okay, port number 443, and we have like ready to use. Okay, so now understand this. For example, if I am saying that all TCP, it means it will allow all TCP traffic. It will allow 1,265,535 port. If I am saying that all UDP, it will allow only all UDP traffic. Okay, now if I am saying that all traffic, it means TCP, UDP, ICMP, all traffic, no restrictions, and your instance is like a less secure. Okay, the first thing, like if you want to allow SSH, so SSH is using TCP port 22. Now if you are having knowledge of this and you are aware of this, you can say that okay, I want to allow TCP, okay, and you say that okay, I want to allow 22, so it is like an SSH. Yeah, so if you have knowledge, or if your protocol that you want to allow is not listed over here, you can select TCP UDP, and same way we have ICMP. Okay, so ICMP is like a limited, it is used for the ping only. So yeah, all ICMP, so it means it will allow ping. Yeah, all ICMP, it means all 0 to 65,535. Yeah, same as like we are using all TCP, it is 65,500. It means all ports are allowed. Okay, so I hope you are understanding this. Okay, and whatever you are configuring over here is just the inbound traffic. Yeah, it is just inbound traffic. By default, outbound traffic is all allowed, right? Now here you have source. Okay, now the meaning of the source is like, okay, I am allowing web server, it is like I am allowing HTTP, but I want to open this website from my office only. Yeah, I want to allow this website from my office only. So in this case, what I can do, I can go over here, okay, and I can say that okay, my IP. Now it will detect your IP automatically. You can assign range of your IP address. Okay, you can say custom, and then this server will allow all TCP traffic from your office only. Yeah, you can specify the IP address also. But my matter is like, suppose if it is the, I'm going to allow all traffic. Yeah, and I'm going to say okay, from my IP. So if your IP is this, you can able to access all traffic from this EC2 instance, right? Now if you don't have this IP, you are not going to access this, right? Now suppose I want to say that anyone can open. Yeah, I can say anywhere, so you can say anywhere. Okay, if you, I want to allow from my office and your office, so I can say custom, and I can add a CIDR, like I want to allow this particular IP, so they can access this. Okay, so here you can use comma, and then you can add range of IP address. Yeah, and here we have like big advantages, like you can specify security group as a source of security group. Yeah, this is really interesting. Why it is interesting? For example, I'm having two EC2 instance. Yeah, let me draw this. Okay, so I'm having one EC2 instance. Okay, like this is EC2. Okay, this is EC2 1, and here we have security group like SG1. Now this security group is protecting this particular EC2 instance 1, right? And I am having another instance is like 2. Okay, and here it has a security group like SG2. Okay, now whenever I am creating the security group of this particular EC2 instance, okay, like I am creating SG2. Okay, and I selected okay, all traffic allowed from. Yeah, allowed from, and source will be like SG1. Okay, so all traffic allowed from SG1. So this computer with the name 1, EC2 instance with the name 1 can able to access 2. No other than any, like other than 1 can able to access your EC2 instance 2, because this security group SG2 is only allowing traffic from security group SG1. Yeah, now suppose if I will create a new instance, okay, like a 2 and 3, like I just created 2 new instance. Okay, now one security group can use to protect more than one EC2 instance. Okay, so now this 2 and 3 is also part of the SG1 security group. So this 2 and 3 can also able to access this particular EC2 instance. Yeah, let me give name like a 22. So 22 and 3 can also able to access this particular instance 2, because in the SG2 security group you just assign SG1 as a source. Yeah, you have to assign this like over here, and you just need to give them like SG, and then you have to assign the ID of this. Okay, so keep this in mind. Security group can be source of other security group. Yeah, this is really useful. Okay, Now, one another point that I have to explain you right now, because it is compulsory, like if it is good to have you explain you right now. Yeah. uh, in upcoming session we'll talk about RDS. Okay, RDS, it is a relational database system. Now when you create RDS, okay, there will be the security group also which will protect this particular RDS. RDS stands for relational database. We'll talk about this database in upcoming section of the database. Yeah. And whenever you create database, you are also, like, there will be the security group which is used to protect this database. So here it is like I'm having this security group like a data protection SG. Okay, so I'm having this DPSG group which is used to protect my RDS. Right now I want to make this RDS database very secure, and I want that only this PC1, 22 and 3 can able to access this DPSG. Yeah, only 1, 22 and 3 can able to access this RDS. Okay, so in this case what I can do, I can create a DPSG security group which is used to protect my RDS database, and then in the source of this DPSG group I can add SG1. Okay, so only member of SG1, and these three instances are member of SG1, can able to access your RDS. Yeah, so this is how it works, and security group is really important to protect your EC2 instance. Okay, so this is how the first line was. I just explain you one line. Yeah, now the another line is like I will explain you in the next video. Yeah, so security group require lots of fundamental detail. Okay, so another video I will explain you about stateless and stateful, and this is like another very important fundamental concept to understand the security group. Yeah, if you have any question you can comment below, and see you in the next video. Yeah.